Okay, so first of all, I've got my t-shirt selected. I'm going to shift and window select so it selects everything else, and Control H hides. So I've just got the t-shirt. And if we look at the UV texture editor, the UVs are quite messy. So let's have a look at starting to UV unwrap this t-shirt and build up the shells into an organised way of painting in Photoshop. So the first thing with UV unwrapping is just thinking about how to literally lay out the UVs, what would be easiest to paint, and getting the in terms of clothes, the simplest ways is to think of it like where the seams are of clothes, because ultimately clothes are made from flat material. So this is an ideal way to lay out the UV seams. So this is an old game model, and it's got these weird points at the base of the t-shirt and inside the sleeve, so we'll have to deal with those as well. Ultimately they won't get so much texture space, it's just to stop you being able to look inside on a game model, but we'll have a look at dealing with those. Okay, so I'm going to go into face mode. Let's start get these out of the way first. So I've selected all the faces on the base. I'm going to go and literally use a planar map and bring up my dialog box, and the best way of doing it is literally from the bottom upwards. So if you look at the icon of your world orientation, you'll see that that's Y. So the best way of projection for that section is the Y. Click on apply. I'll just close that down, and you can see the UVs pop up in your UV editor. So just initially just drag those out of the way, and we'll deal with the next ones. So that's that section done. Literally now we'll go in and shift and double click to get that loop, and then we'll have to shift and individually click as they all meet to a point, so the loop doesn't work for that. Just look around your object, make sure you've not selected any other faces. Now, because the orientation of that shape is quite weird, it's not truly on the X and it's not truly on the Z or the Y. Within the planar mapping, you've got project from camera, so I'm just going to roughly position the camera so I'm looking directly at the object. Create UVs, planar mapping. Again, bring up the dialog box, but this time from camera, and apply, and just close that down and drag that out of the way. So you can see ultimately, the UV layout of this particular shape, is not absolutely brilliant, but don't be frightened of going in. I'm just shift and window selecting within that particular area, and then you can move. So feel free to keep organising your shells. You don't have to settle for what it gives you, and ultimately, at the end of the day, it's what is gonna make it easier to paint. Okay, so let's go to back to face mode, and let's just get the other one out of the way. So shift and double click for that loop. Sometimes when you're trying to select things and the translation or rotation icon gets in the way, just hit Q and you get back to your standard selection mode, and you don't get any icons, so you can freely click where you need to. Again, I'm just going to position the camera so it's more or less facing directly on the shape. Planar mapping, it should keep my last one and apply, and again just bring that out of the way. You know, this time the shape, obviously the way I've just aimed the camera, you know, it's not brilliant, so just right click, go to your UV menu, and let's go in and select the inner area, and then you can, oops, just missed one. You know, so feel free to organise it, do them as you know, more than one UVs, or you know, you can literally be as pedantic as you want to, just making sure the shape is as sort of easy to paint as possible. Okay, there you go. So don't be afraid to go in on each shell. So that's those selected. Now let's do the front part. So this is literally go back to face mode, and I'm going to kind of select literally the hardest part of, about this way of doing the UVs with planar mapping is the selecting the area. So sometimes you'll find that you've selected the back faces, so you know you always have to, before you apply, let's yeah, so I'll just undo that. Sometimes you get a bit too confident, and you try and do a loop and it sort of fills everything in. So the easiest way is to literally do it one by one, or window select. As we go, I'm going to take that right down to the side. So literally I'm choosing the front panel of the t-shirt, literally that, you know, the seams of the t-shirt would be around the arms and down the side and around the top. So as you can see, I'm just having a final look around just to make sure I've got no extra faces, and then the easiest way of doing this is if you look at the icon, it's the Z projection is the flattest. If I do the X, it would come in on the side, and the Y would come in from the top. So it's the Z that's the most convenient. So planar mapping from the Z, apply, and I get that shape. Just close that down and just pull that out of the way. Okay, so it really is as simple as that. And literally just keep working your way through selecting faces and applying a planar map or a cylindrical map based on what's easiest. You can then go in, you can see if I zoom into the, as I've projected front and back in the Z, the faces on the side get a little bit kind of overlap. So again, you can go to your UVs and, you know, just tweak the shell. You know, this is literally keeping it organized so that you know, it is easier to paint. You obviously don't want kind of UV faces overlapping, because you'll start to get weird it's not that one. kind of texture and artifacts appearing. So there you go. You know, it does take that final adjustment. I mean, I'm just going to do it very very roughly for this video, but obviously, you know, you can go in and tweak it and align things up just so that it's much easier, especially if you've got a pattern. You know, so you can make the shape of the sleeves a lot better, bring the UVs out a little bit more so you don't get texture distortion. And then so once you've worked your way around the model, do the back. Actually, let's do a sleeve as well. So literally, I'll just go to face mode and just press Q to get rid of that icon. Let's see if it behaves with the loops. Okay, so I'll just have a look. It's missed those two faces underneath, so Shift Select. Okay, now obviously the easiest way to do this one would be a cylindrical map. We'll talk about the new Maya 2015 way of doing things by cutting the seams in video 3, but this is just an overview of how to do it with a basic planar and cylindrical. Okay, so we're going to do cylindrical map, and that applies the cylindrical icon in that vertical position. It's only done a 180, so I'm just going to drag those red icons to make it a full 360. And again, just to check, you'll find it in your horizontal sweep, that value should be 360. Okay. And literally I want to position the icon so it's more or less aligned with the sleeve. So what you need to do is find that very subtle T icon, which is at the back there. So if you click on that one, it exposes translation, rotation and scale, so that you access the rotation by clicking on that blue circle, and then I can rotate it a little bit more in line with the sleeve. And as I'm rotating it, you can see that the UV for the sleeve layout is getting a little bit more ordered. Okay, so it's straightening it off. Okay, so I'll just eyeball it like that. And then I've got like a dip and a raised bit, and this obviously where the raised bit starts coming down, it feeds into this section. This seam and this seam join together to create a full circle. So I want the shape to start low, go high and end low. So all that takes is just a little bit of a rotation of the UV, and it should start popping them off on one end, and there we go. Okay, so now I've got that nicely structured UV map. Okay, and move that shell out of the way, and then literally you can work with it on the side. Go right click, go to UV, and you know, just sort of organize the shape a little bit better for painting. Okay, and not forgetting, you can select the whole shell, and you know, you can sort of scale it if you want it to be slightly wider. Okay, and then it's a case of doing the last, once you've gone through and done the whole t-shirt, you'll have all these separate shells. It's a case of scaling them and bringing them all back to fit in this 0 and 1 space, and then you can export that into Photoshop. So for this last aspect of it, I consider what really needs the most texture space. So these circular ones that are on the base and inside the t-shirt really don't require an awful lot of texture space. You know, they don't need an awful lot of detail. They're just there to stop you seeing through the model. So I would really scale those down. They hardly need any detail on there. The main detail really is the front and the sleeves. So give them as much size and texture space as possible.